So you decide to learn guitar, you find some good beginner lessons, you learn the basics, you're playing some easy tunes, and everything's working out. At this point, you're feeling great. If you just keep progressing at this rate, within a couple years, you'll be amazing at guitar, blowing people away with your impressive riffs and chord melodies. But time passes, and you're still not that much further ahead. Your progress hasn't come to a screeching halt, but it's definitely slowed down. As somebody who teaches both in person and online, I've had plenty of students who started their journey themselves, being self-taught, and then hitting a plateau. And they come to me for lessons to solve that problem. And to be honest, it's usually a pretty simple problem that can be fixed with just a little bit of care and attention, usually in a matter of days or weeks. So today, I'd like to share with you the 5 most common mistakes that I see self-taught guitarists make and how to overcome them without having to backtrack and lose progress. By the way, this lesson is brought to you by me. I have a ton of awesome stuff here on the channel, including my free ebook. It's free for all my subscribers and has all the stuff that you need to master chords and strumming. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell icon. I truly appreciate your support. The first problem is ignoring your ear. I know personally, as a self-taught guitarist, I didn't even know ear training was a thing, and a lot of people who step into my studio, for them, it's this mysterious thing, Some people even had memories when they were kids in the 70s, 80s, 90s, being put into piano lessons and having to do all this rigid ear training. So it's a bit of a sore spot. But I have a really simple solution. This is honestly the only ear training exercise that you'll ever need. You just think of a basic song, like a traditional song or a nursery rhyme. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, happy birthday, when the saints go marching in. And then you just try to figure it out on guitar. You pluck a single note like, okay, twinkle, twinkle, twinkle. And you just try to find the next note and the next note. And to be honest, it's not going to be great at first. It'll take you ages to get through something that you could just sing in 5 seconds. But eventually, instead of taking 15 minutes to figure out the first 5 notes of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, you'll be able to get it in 1 minute. And then you do that with a bunch more melodies. And then Christmas rolls around, you're trying to figure out Jingle Bells, and you figure it out pretty quick, almost in real time with just a couple mistakes. And when you do it like that, just 5 minutes a day, just thinking of easy songs, things that you're really familiar with, Beatles songs, whatever, you try to play the melody. Maybe you learn some scale stuff along the way so that, it all ties in together, right? And eventually you can just play by ear. And honestly, you end up with one of the most amazing skills that I can think of, just being able to play a melody by ear, being able to play what you can hear inside your head. And it's never too early to start. It could be the first thing you do on guitar before you even learn chord shapes, because you just spend a couple minutes a day doing that one exercise. And trust me, it does turn into something real. The next mistake that I see self-taught guitarists make, and as a teacher, this one is really frustrating to watch. It's when they start the song at the beginning, and they're starting strong. You're rooting for them. You're like, yeah, this sounds so good. And then about 8 measures in, it starts to fall apart. It's like a cartoon where somebody's driving a car and then a bolt flies out and then the wheel comes off, the axle drops, and then it all comes screeching to a halt. It's a really bad habit, but it makes sense. You want to play a song from start to finish, so you try playing the song start to finish over and over again until you can do it. But the solution to this is actually counterintuitive. What you really need to do is start practicing from various points within the song. You learn the song in parts. That's literally why my YouTube channel is successful, is because I started teaching songs that way, where we learn the verse, then the chorus, then the bridge. And, I show you how to practice each section on its own. And then we break down all the trickiest bits. And I've done that literally on every single song lesson on this channel. I'll just show you a little diagram here. You chop the song up into parts. You knock out the easy parts first. Maybe the verse is no problem for you, and so on and so forth. But then you focus on that part where you're having the most trouble. Maybe it's the bridge. Maybe there's a B minor chord in the bridge, right? So you find the trickiest little bit, you zoom in on it, you isolate it, you practice your B minor chord. Then you work outwards. So the part right before it leading into the B minor chord, you make sure you can do that. And then going from the B minor chord into whatever comes after it. And then you try the entire section, right? Now that you've practiced going into it and out of it, and then you glue that together with the rest of the tune. You put the whole song together, and there you go. Even if you get lost or you lose your place, you're used to starting the song at various points in the middle. So you get lost during the verse, it's like, no problem. I know how to start at the pre-chorus. And if that's all that I ever teach anybody about learning music, I'll feel like I've done my job and helped people reach their goals, because really that approach is the difference between somebody who gets better and somebody who's just spinning their tires. The next problem that I see in self-taught guitar players is focusing too much on what they're learning and not on how they're doing it. And what I mean by that is they focus on learning more chords, more strumming patterns, more scales, and they think by learning more and more things that suddenly one day it's all going to click and come together, and they're going to be able to play all these really complex and interesting songs and have all these abilities and techniques down. But the truth is, when we just learn things like that, it's hard to actually retain the information. For me, the ultimate device for retaining information is learning songs, building a repertoire. I like to have goals. Like, I want to go to a jam session, so I'll learn the songs that I'm going to jam with those guys. I want to go to an open mic, so I'll learn how to play and sing some songs. And that's your reason for practicing. You take a look at what those songs have, what they're made out of, and that determines what you're supposed to practice. And beyond just learning more and more, it's really important to take the time with the stuff that you already know and to make it sound even better. Maybe your G and C chords are pretty good, but maybe you could make them sound incredible just by adjusting a few things and spending some time on stuff that you're already capable of doing, but getting it perfectly clean and, beautiful sounding, right? Certain things that people overlook is the volume of their strumming. Learning how to strum quietly and then loud, that can add a lot of dynamics and intensity to songs. And as far as technical things like scales, instead of learning the next mode and the next one and mastering Mixolydian and all this, why not just take your minor pentatonic scale, take 3 notes out of it, and learn how to be really musical with them. A really good way to see how you're doing with all of this is to take a song that you know how to play and record yourself playing it. And in that process, you're not making like a perfect recording. You're not going to be sharing it with anybody. You're just going to listen to it yourself. You record yourself playing, you listen back to it the next day, and then you imagine that somebody else is playing. And you come up with a critique of it. You're good at listening to music. You're somebody who loves music. That's why you're here right now and you have a guitar in your hands, right? You have a pretty good ear for knowing the quality of a performance and objectively analyzing it. So take advantage of that and listen to yourself playing. Maybe your strumming tone's a bit too abrasive. Maybe you keep screwing up in that one spot because you never isolated the tricky bits, and it's about making simple things sound good instead of getting ahead of yourself and adding more to the pile. The next problem that I see all the time is forgetting about the thumb, placing it incorrectly, because when you're learning guitar by yourself, you watch a lot of videos and you see the guitar player from the front. You can never really see their thumb and you don't really know what you're supposed to do with your thumb. Sometimes you'll see it hanging over the top and, that's cool. Eventually, once you develop the muscle right here, it's called the thenar eminence. That's the muscle between your index and your thumb. Once it's fully developed, sure, you can do whatever. But before you hit that point, you got to keep it on the back of the neck to develop that strength, and you have to keep it upright. This is a good spot for your thumb, like that. It doesn't have to be perfectly pointing upward, but make sure it's not off to the side like that or off to the side like that, and you'll feel wrist strain when it's in a bad spot. And just try changing chord shapes. Notice that your thumb kind of has to adjust depending on the shape, right? But as long as it's kind of like in this zone, that's good. If you find it's still not comfortable, putting the neck of your guitar up like this gives you a little bit more reach. You could even try putting it on your left leg. And when you have your thumb down, your knuckles go forward, so you get more reach with your fingers. If my thumb's too high, I can barely reach the thicker strings, but when my thumb's low, I get tons of reach. Now, the 5th and final problem faced by self-taught guitarists that I'd like to share with you today is not challenging yourself enough or challenging yourself too much. And this doesn't have to do with difficulty, because you can take an easy song and you can really polish it up. You can get the dynamics sounding good. You can clean up your chord shapes. You can do simple things that are going to make you better. You're challenging yourself in that regard. You know, you're challenging yourself to make your C chord better, to make your strumming smoother, and so on. But sometimes people will just keep playing the same old stuff the same way without improving it. It's fine. If you just enjoy playing guitar like that, great, but you're not going to make gains like that unless you're challenging yourself, even in an easy way. And on the other end of the spectrum, sometimes people kind of reach a little too far. They'll pick a song that's way too hard for them, and they'll spend like 100 hours practicing just like 4 measures of music. It's not actually making you better outside of just being able to memorize and barely be able to play 4 measures of music that are way too hard for you at that current stage in your journey. When it comes to a solution for that particular problem, instead of spending 100 hours memorizing those 4 measures, back up a little bit. You know, learn a song that's halfway there in terms of difficulty. Maybe step up to it. Spend 10 hours on this song that's just beyond your challenge, and then 10 hours on one just beyond that, you know, and you learn 10 songs over the course of 100 hours that all end up like stepping stones, getting you to that point. And by the time you reach that initial thing, you know, that song, it was your dream to learn this song that was once too challenging for you, but you put 100 hours into working up to that level. You've learned 10 songs along the way, and now you're going to get that song in just another 10 hours. You know, so you spend 110 hours, but you know 11 songs, and you're totally nailing it. You know, you're not just frustrated and barely memorizing these 4 measures. When it comes to figuring out exactly where you're at, I think the best thing to do is to just ask somebody with experience. You know, a good guitar teacher, somebody who's taught a ton of people, is going to know what songs people have trouble with, or they'll know what songs lead into other songs. You know, like if somebody said, I want to learn how to play Don't Think Twice, It's All Right by Bob Dylan, it's like, well, that has like hammer-ons and some extra stuff. Why not learn Landslide first? Because that has like a similar pattern, but it doesn't have all that extra stuff, you know, and then maybe learning Dust in the Wind. Because it's a little bit trickier than Landslide, right? And you know, you work your way into it, and then eventually you're going to be able to learn Don't Think Twice, It's All Right without a massive struggle. So those are 5 problems that I see a lot of self-taught guitarists make, and how we have overcome them in my studio, how I overcame them. I'm a self-taught guitarist myself, and how you can overcome them in the comfort of your own home. Now, when it comes to learning guitar, I think the most important thing is to have a plan. You know, it doesn't really matter what the plan is. What matters is how you approach it. You know, it doesn't matter what you're learning as long as you learn it right. And if you want to expand your knowledge on guitar and learn how to approach things the right way so that all your practice is going somewhere, I have a ton of courses on my website covering various topics. You know, if you want to learn fingerstyle, if you want to learn bar chords, whatever it may be, it's all there. I'm going to put a link down below if you're interested, and if you want to help support this channel, that's the best way you can do it. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, like the video if you like learning guitar with me. If you don't like learning guitar with me, then just close the window. But you know, if you like it, I would really appreciate if you could take a moment to do that. And please let me know how you're doing in the comments down below. If you're struggling with anything, your successes, or even just to say hi. Otherwise, have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.